Hello and welcome back. In this tutorial, we're going to go over the one-way platform. So we're going to be able to create platforms that you can jump through the bottom of them and then land on top of them. And that's really it for that. So we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so in our game, so if I jump, I can jump through those platforms. Right, so you're not kind of bound by... So you can see when you hit the side of them, you can't jump through the sides of them, but from the bottom, you can jump up through the bottom. Similarly, with this platform, I can... So I actually... And it works better this way, so you don't need the trigger. So for the up-down platform, I took the trigger off. And that's because I have this also as a one-way platform. So I can actually go through the bottom of it and just jump up onto it, right? And it's not going to pin you to the ground either because it is a one-way platform. So there's no collision essentially from the bottom of it. And I think this works better than the trigger anyways. The one thing that you'll notice there is the platform goes in front of you. So again, that's something that you could decide. So we could set the platform to, so if we go to the up-down platform, we could set this to the mid. So the up-down platform, hopefully I didn't change anything there. But we could go to our, where is it? The renderer. I closed it apparently, and just set it to the midground. All right, so if we set it to the midground, it's now going to be behind the player. So, and it still works, so you can... Right, so I can still jump on it and all that works fine. So all we were doing there was just changing the position. So that's kind of a preference in terms of where you want those platforms. So anyway, so that's that. And then the trigger, again, with that up-down platform, the rigid or the box collider that we have as a trigger, I just turned it off. So I left the component on there just to kind of remember that. And then you could remove this component from it completely, right? And then you don't need that. So I'm just going to save this. So in scene 2, I haven't set up the platforms yet, so I'm going to just go do that now. So the way to set these up is, the way that I have them set up is because we have our platforms in the grid. So basically we want to right click on grid, we're going to create a new tile map, and we're going to call this, let's call it platforms. And then we're going to go in and just redraw those platforms. So if we, well, I guess so that we kind of know where they are, we can go in. So we're going to delete, so in our tile palette, so we're in the foreground because we don't want these. And then we're going to go to the eraser and just erase these so that we kind of know that we've drawn them in. And apparently that one on the edge there was part of the foreground, so I'll have to fix that. And there, so that's all done, and then you can go back and then draw in the, so click on your, so we're going to redraw them now. Make sure you're in the platform layer, and again we want our sorting layer to the foreground so that we can see the platforms, and then you're going to redraw them. Right, so redraw them all in. Okay, so I have them all drawn in, and again, you remember that, so we want these as colliders. So just kind of recap if you forget how to do this. So we want to add a tile map collider. Tile map collider. So we're going to add a tile map collider. And again, remember this produces, so every little tile we have is a collider, so we want to also add the composite collider. So the composite collider 2D, and in our tile map we want to say used by composite, which now just makes one smooth collider there. The other thing, remember, so this creates also a rigid body. We want our rigid body to be static, so we don't want these platforms moving. Otherwise, when you push play, they're just going to fall because gravity's going to take them and they're going to drop all to the ground. So that sets that up. The other thing that we want to do is now for the edges, because currently this is only going to be, the effectors will be only on this. So actually if we do that now, so to add, so what we want to do now is we want to add a component, and we're going to add a platform effector 2D. And this sets up automatically. So in our, so the platform effector 2D, if you read it, so this will not function unless there's, so we want to take our composite collider, and this is used by the effector. And what that means is that this, so this is now using, so in this platform effector, uses one way, and then this grid here is the way that we can go in terms of one way. And you can rotate that any way you want. Right, so if you want to have it where you can fall down through the platform or things like that, right? So right now it's just basically set up the way we want it. So this means that all jumps straight up from the bottom, we're going to be allowed to jump up through from the bottom of the platforms. So if we play, right, so I can jump up through the bottom. However, I can't jump through these edge platforms, and that's because they're not set up. So I'm just gonna pause that out. And I have, the reason I'm doing this is that you can also set up in your script that if you're on a platform and you push the down arrow key, that you can jump back down, right? So currently when we jump up through the platform, we land on it, but you can't jump down from the platform. So the way I'm going to do this is I don't want these edges to be, I want these edges different, because I want to be able to jump through these as well as jump down from the edges, i.e. straight down through the platform. So the easier way to do this, I think, is to just simply right click. We're going to duplicate the edges. We're going to name this platform edges. And in our edges folder, in our edges tile map, we want to delete all of the edges that where our platforms are, right? Because currently we have these edges in our platform edges, so we don't want them here. Don't delete these edges. I'm not sure why that one deleted, but that's fine. Oh, I know why, because okay, I'm not sure what was happening there. For some reason so you couldn't see those edges. If I just zoomed out, zoomed back in, and then played and unplayed it, they are there. They just for some reason weren't rendering in our scene view. So anyway, so they are there, and then you want to do the same thing. So our and I know I'm forgetting something that I did when I was playing on this yesterday. So in our edges, no, in our platform edges, we want to delete the walls here, right? Because we don't want to, because otherwise it's going to recognize that as a platform edge, and we don't want to be able to jump down through those walls themselves. So we'll delete those ones. And I think that's everything. So similarly, we don't want these as platform edges, and so on. So anyway, so that sets up those. And then you would do the same thing, right? So our platform edges, we also want to add the platform effector 2D, and our composite collider is used by the effector. And that sets it up now again, same thing, where you can jump up through those platforms. So if we push play, we should be able to jump up onto those platforms regardless of where you are and not get stuck on the edges or stop on the edges. Right, so there we go. So we can jump up through the platforms. So that's good. Not sure why we're kind of stopping running there. I think the other thing the other reason that we did that was I know why, because so the platforms we do want to be layered as ground. which is why I couldn't jump, or it looked like we were sliding on the edge, and that's because it was not as a ground, so it thought we were still in the air. So make sure you do fix that. So your platform should be layer ground. And then I also want to, and I've already did this in scene 1, so add a tag and add a platform tag, and then we want to tag these as platforms. So what that'll allow you to do is to recognize these as platforms when you're on them, and then be able to jump down from the platforms. Okay, so to be able to jump down from the platforms, then we're going to create a script, and I'm going to attach it to the platforms. So we're going to go to our grid, so where our platforms are, and you would also need to attach this to your platform edges and so on, which we can just take the script and move up to it anyway. So that's, we only really need to create it the once and then add it, and I'll show you how to do that. So in the platforms, we're going to add a script, which I've already added. So add component script, and then we're going to call it platform control. You can call it, again, whatever you want. So we're going to edit that script. And in the script, what we are going to be doing is turning the tile map collider on and off. So in our update, we're going to say if, not a capital, so if the input dot get key, and we're going to do the down arrow. So if you hit the down arrow, what's going to happen? So we're going to, in this case, start a coroutine, and let's call it platform off. And that's it. So if we hit the down arrow, we're going to start a coroutine called platform off, and then out of the update function, we're going to create another method called private enumerator and platform off. And in this platform, so in this coroutine, what we're really doing is we're turning the tile map collider off. So we're going to get component. And there's other ways you can do this. We could create a variable called platforms, and then to start, get that component and so on, but we can do it just as easily just through here. So we're going to get the component, and we're going to get the tile map collider 2D. So that's so same as all the other get components, right? Just the name of your component in the less than or greater than, and then the parentheses. And then this time we want to set dot enabled equals false. So that turns the collider off. And then we want to wait. So yield return new wait 4 seconds. And we want to set this big enough that you fall through. So let's set it to 0.5f, so about half a second. And see how that works. Then we're going to get component. And we're going to, again, get the tile map collider. I could have just really copied the same script from up above. So get component, tile map collider, I'm missing the 2D, that's why it's not the same length. Dot enabled, and this time we're going to set it to true, and that'll turn the tile map collider on. Now, as with our other things, so with the using the UI, scene management and things like that, we also need to add that functionality into the script. So we want to say using Unity engine dot tile maps, right? Or else, so if you don't have this in, it will not find this, right? So same thing how it couldn't find a text when we were trying to reference a text from the UI. So you need to put that up into the, add it into the script itself. And that's it. So that's all we need to do for this. So let's save it. So we'll close out of that, let it compile. If we get the key and then we want to get key code dot down arrow. So get key and then key code dot down arrow. So we need to reference that. Save the script again and go back in. So now when we jump through the platforms, we should be able to jump through the platforms And then when we hit the, I'm not sure, I was just getting that when I was hanging out with this, but it's fine for now. So when we kind of play through, so I can jump through the platform, so that's good. I can hit down and I fall through the platform. So one thing you can do, so what's happening here is our tile map collider is going off, so you can hit, so we can kind of pay attention to up here to see when it turns back on. So I hit down and it turns back on almost when, so kind of when I'm on pretty much close to the ground. So half a second is plenty of time to fall through. If you find it's not, maybe you have a different mass, gravities, or whatever's happening, you can just change that to a different value. Now, one thing again you want to kind of to check is if I fall through here, will I fall through both of them? And y is... Okay, so that one works. I'm not sure why the one up there is not working specifically. The other thing as well, your... so when we... So you might want to... So you could change kind of the where these are in terms of your tile map colliders and so on. But that works good like that, the way it is. Again, you can change the settings there. I'm not sure why this one wasn't working, other than if I was kind of, so if my rigid body or my collider was touching the edge here, right, because we don't have that script on there. So what you would want to do is then go to the platform edges, and we can just drag the platform control script over into the why won't it add it? I should be able to just drag it over. All right, so we'll drag it over now. So platform control. So drag it over to our platform edges. So now it's attached to it. So now same thing, I should be able to jump down from those edges as well. Right, so previously, and I don't know if I showed that or not, but when I jump up, I wouldn't have been able to jump down from the edges, but now I can kind of, even if I'm on the edge, right, I can still jump down from the edge. So anyway, so that's good. Again, you could do the same thing, add that into your platform there. And that's it for this tutorial. So that kind of allows you to create those one-way platforms to jump up on the platform and then be able to jump down on the platform.